Good day, viewers, and welcome to another OnSide SA soccer show. Paul unfortunately won't be with us because he has car trouble. And joining us shortly from his Fulham studio will be our regular UK correspondent, Stevie Bram. But we kick off, as always, with our last one standing competition. And going into round 3, we had 185 entries. 112 were successful. 64 were on Arsenal, 34 West Ham, 8 on Man City, 4 on Crystal Palace and 2 on Bournemouth. The unfortunate sides were Chelsea, who had 32, Brighton, who had 20, Fulham had 9, Tottenham 4, Wolves 3, Notts Forest 2, and Brentford and Man United had 1. Our ladies who were successful, we have 9 of them. They are Sue Miller, Janice Lafferty, Tracy Nell, Montana Verners, Michelle Tovey, Holly Lafferty, Tennille Verners, Julie Usher, and Yvonne Borenser. Our successful teams this week, I split them with 2 due to the betting. We had 2 guys that were on Bournemouth, namely Yvonne Borenser and Andre van Basten. And Crystal Palace also deserve a mention. We had 4 guys on them being Julie Usher, Ryan Macy, Keith Hughes, and Jesse Nagel. As always, I give a special mention to people who have entered for several competitions. They don't have many entries, but these are the guys that, in my opinion, deserve a mention. Chris Wheeler, Phil Shivers, Sky Shabalala, Bryce Goss, Damien Van Alphen, Craig Massey, Mark Dixon, Paulo De Carmo, Michael Alexander, Colin McCabe, Michael Duplessis, Andy Nicol, Rodney van Rensburg, Gary Grant, Jay Naidu, Ian Lambert, and Robert and Franz Gietz. Guys, those that are going through, 1:30 is the kickoff, Man United Everton on Saturday, so we'll need your selection by 12:30. We now go over to our UK correspondent, Stevie Bram. Steve, good morning.
Morning, Budge. How you doing?
Yeah, no complaints, Steve. You know, your mates will be coming to see you for a few cold ones in the next few days. But Premiership review of the weekend, Steve. Bournemouth 0, Brighton 2. Comfortable victory for Brighton.
It was, yeah. It was a good result for them, and you know, they're in a decent position to challenge for a big European spot.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people didn't think they'd last the pace, but they're doing very well.
Yeah, a big game this week, which Paul will be at, Brighton,
Absolutely.
Tottenham. Leeds, superb result against a Notts Forest team drifting into that relegation zone.
Yeah, I mean, they were the winners of the midweek games, Leeds, the only team of the bottom group that played or won, and it lifts them. It changes week to week at the moment, so close, but it lifts them back up to 13th. Forest took the lead, but after that it was all Leeds and thoroughly deserved to win. I see that the Forest chairman has given Steve Cooper the support, but then comes up with a statement to say he expects the performances to improve. So I think that's a bit of a warning to Steve Cooper. I think just because he got the chairman's support yesterday doesn't mean he'll have it after the weekend if they lose at Villa.
Yeah, I think they're in serious trouble having a look at their future fixtures. The thing about that, Steve, is if they go down, Steve Cooper's as good a manager as there will be in the Championship. And when you think the interference was, how many players did they sign, Notts Forest? Yeah, they were signing 3 every week.
Well over 20, absolutely. Yeah. And there will be FFP issues as well.
Yeah.
There will be players that wouldn't stay if they go down. But you're right. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of these owners, they would blame the coach. And even though, as I say, he took them up, it doesn't mean that he'd necessarily keep him. Yeah. Even if it might be the right thing to do. But we'll see what happens. But you're right. They've had only 1 win in 10. They're definitely in trouble.
Yeah, another team in trouble, Steve, Leicester City, Aston Villa. I was watching that game, because obviously the Liverpool-Chelsea game was a bit later. I thought they played well, Leicester. Yeah, the red card obviously influenced the result, but Aston Villa are flying.
Aston Villa are behind Arsenal and Man City at the informed team.
Yeah.
5 wins and a draw in their last 6, playing very well. Ollie Watkins scoring goals. Unai Emery has got them really on song, and when I saw it, it was sort of 1-1 going late after the sending off, and I thought, they dropped points, but they obviously came strong, and I think that they're certainly pushing themselves for maybe one of the lower European spots.
Yeah, Chelsea 0, Liverpool 0. I actually enjoyed the game. A lot of guys were slating it. I was impressed with what I saw from Chelsea, Steve. Several other guys disagree with me, but they slowly but surely, with Kante back, I know they're battling to score goals, but I thought they played well.
Yeah, certainly first half they were on top and pretty much sort of dominated, were unlucky not to score. I mean, Liverpool obviously always created one or two chances, but it was another really poor Liverpool performance on the back of the one at City. Klopp seemed happy that they fought for a point, but their top four challenge is starting to fall away when you look at the results of the teams above them. Yeah,
no doubt. Man United 1, Brentford 0. Terrible watch. United 1-1-0. I thought Brentford were really poor. When they wake up this morning, that was a great chance to sneak something. What did you see?
Yeah, I just saw the highlights, but it's Rashford came to the rescue, and if it's not for his goals, they wouldn't be anywhere near where they are. But they needed that win desperately, because with Newcastle on a 4-match winning run, Tottenham is still there. Brighton, with games in hand, could catch them. United needed to win that, so it was a big. Considering Brentford, it was only their second defeat in 17.
Yeah.
So, but the sounds of it, first half United were well on top. Brentford were very poor.
Yeah, and West Ham won Newcastle 5. The David Moyes, I can't believe that would fire him, but warning signs surely.
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone could have expected a result that convincing, but I think they didn't recover from that goal in literally straight after half time. They were back in the game with Zuma scored, and I think that goal killed it. And then looking at the highlights and the stats, Newcastle, ran riot in that second half, could have had any number.
Yeah.
It just makes you wonder, because if you look at the West Ham squad, it's stronger than last season, and you can't sort of put your finger on exactly what's gone wrong. But again, David Moyes, I'm not sure he's actually. We haven't heard anything from the board. He's saying that he thinks that he feels that they're backing him. But again, if they lose at Fulham at the weekend, it does make you wonder, because they can't get themselves out of that bottom group.
Yeah, Steve, it always amazes me when you're struggling. Don't try and throw it out from the back. What they did in the start of the second half was criminal. 2-1, I know they were outplayed, but to give the third goal, and when I saw it, I just couldn't believe it. Then the heads dropped. They're in trouble. As you say, Fulham won't be easy, but David Moyes better be careful. Steve, on to a couple of managerial clubs. Frank Lampard, is that right? Back at Chelsea?
It appears that it's going to be confirmed at some point this morning that he is going to be brought in as interim manager 2 years after, effectively 2 years after he left. It's a strange one, in all honesty. They obviously, I guess they figured that Bruno Salter, who is there as the interim, hasn't got anywhere near enough experience to do the job. So they're bringing somebody in. Whether or not they might have looked at someone like Rafa Benitez again, but I think that they're obviously desperate to bring somebody in on the short term. At least they're not rushing to appoint a permanent manager straight away. My understanding is Luis Enrique was in London yesterday for talks about as a long-term replacement. But it's good for Frank Lampard. It puts him back in. If he can finish strongly with Chelsea, that it reminds other clubs that he's there. So I just sort of feel that they'll pick up. I mean, the only thing is, he'll only know a handful of players, because, as I mentioned to you before, they brought in 24 players at a cost of 700 million since they sacked him.
Sure.
So, with a squad of over 30, it's, he's got a bit of a job. He hasn't got much time to get to know the players either. They've got a game that they really need to look to win on Saturday at Wolves.
Yeah, as long as Kante is available, I think Chelsea will be hard to beat. Tottenham, likewise, just going to go till the end of the season with the interim manager?
Yeah, it looks pretty certain that that's going to happen. I think they obviously feel that with the sort of backroom staff they've got, they don't need to sort of change it too much. And they need, again, at least it's not a knee-jerk reaction and bringing somebody in too quickly. And there will be one or two. Obviously, there are a few contenders for that position.
Yeah, and Leicester as well. I was impressed. They started off quickly. I don't know whether there was a problem with Vardy, but I saw he started. Whether previous manager didn't want him to start or not, but they showed a bit of fire, and I expect that to continue.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've had, in a way, I sort of feel a little sorry for Brendan Rodgers because he's had a lot of injuries to contend with. They haven't been able to back him because of sort of FFP issues. They backed him a little bit in January, but a lot of speculation of his sort of best player like Maddison. Pretty certain looks like he's going to go. Vardy has been, and he obviously decided he didn't fancy him this year, but he's been off the pace a bit, Vardy.
Yeah.
As you say, from what I saw, they started well, but ultimately, they play up against a strong Villa team. I think, by the sounds of it, they are going to look to bring an interim manager in, but they need to get a move on. They're really out of form. In fact, one win themselves in about 8. So, they need to pick up soon, or they're going to, find it hard to get out of that bottom group.
Yeah, Steve. Tamar, Mitrovic and Marcus Silva, your Fulham guys, looks like a vendetta. What was the latest? That just doesn't seem there's no question that they've been hung out to dry. Look, what they did was wrong. There's no question at all, and they deserve the punishment. The only thing is, it seems to be that they're being sort of made an example of. Now, the independent committee has basically given Silva a 2-match ban and a £40,000 fine, and Mitrovic in total, including the 3 for the sending off, an 8-match ban and a £75,000 fine. And you think, okay, it's hard. It's harsh, but okay. The FA have come out and said they're appealing it. And the thoughts are that they don't think it's strong enough. But when you consider that Paolo Di Canio got 11 for really pushing Paul Alcock over, Luis Suarez only got 8 for spitting on one goal and 8 for biting. You think, I just get a feeling with, they obviously don't want him to play again this season, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if they add an extra 3 games on, which would basically mean he's not available for us. And they're sending a message, but I think a lot of Fulham fans feel aggrieved, and a lot of some pundits feel a little bit aggrieved on their behalf. Is that Bruno Fernandes pushed the linesman, referee saw it and did nothing, and the FA, because of their rules, if the referee doesn't mention it in his report, the FA can't do anything about it retrospectively. Whereas, he pushed the linesman, Mitrovic didn't hit the referee, he pushed him to get his attention. There's not a huge amount of difference, and but I think they're just making an example. I just wonder whether or not, it's a bit of sour grapes, is that if it was a bigger club, they might not have done it in quite the same way, but, it's disappointing. I'm resigned to the fact we won't see Mitrovic again this season. Yeah, that's what it seems to look like. But you never know, Steve. Hopefully, for me, as going forward, if that's the staple that they want to do, I've no problem with that. But be consistent. For me, how can a referee get pushed and the world sees it with the Bruno Fernandes, even though it was maybe trying to get the ball? But your guy, while he was wrong, you can't have a rule for one and a rule for the other. If the ref doesn't see it, for me, like rugby, you should have a citing commission afterwards, regardless of what the referee does. And Bruno should at least got a few games for what he did. Anyway,
there is one more. So I just saw this morning that the FA have charged Daniel Podence.
Yes, for spitting.
With spitting, and that's going to be a 6 to 8 game ban if proven guilty, because they've got to be consistent with what they've done in the past. So you're right. I think that consistency is the key, and if they apply this rule to Podence, they do it to Mitrovic. They've got to do it now for any other player that commits a similar sort of offence.
Yeah, spitting isn't nothing worse than that. Steve, on to the weekend fixtures. We'll do the Premiership on Saturday. I know there's a round of fixtures on Friday in the Championship, but we'll kick off at Old Trafford. Man United hosting Everton. How do you see it?
I think I think Everton showed a lot of spirit against Tottenham, especially down to 10 men, and sort of deserved their point in the end. I think United are going to have to sort of play well to win this. I think otherwise I could see Everton holding them. I think Sean Dyche has definitely, apart from that Arsenal game, Sean Dyche has really got them playing with a bit more spirit and hard to beat. And I think, I think United will deservedly start as favourites, but I think they're going to have to be, they can't just turn up and think that because Everton are near the bottom they're going to win this. I think it will be a low-scoring game, but I think United are going to have to work a bit harder than they have recently.
Yeah, I just worry about United. Just watching them, Steve. Bruno's either hit or miss, and one thing about Everton, they'll be set up defensively very sound, and United are going to have to work hard. All my exotics have thrown the draw, and lunchtime kickoffs, especially after a Wednesday night. It was a hard game against Brentford, and it wouldn't surprise me if Everton sneak a point. Aston Villa, Steve, against Forest. I think Villa are good things. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at the way they're playing, as I say, they're third in the form guide, 5 wins and a draw. Forest away just can't do anything. I mean, it's they've got the worst away record in the league. It's all very well the chairman saying that performances must improve, and basically said performances must improve immediately, which I think is a veiled threat to Steve Cooper. But I can't see anything other than a Villa win here.
Yeah, it seems to be rolling for them. That 7th place Europa League conference place could be available to them. Steve, I was over Brentford to cause an upset against Newcastle, especially as they're unbeaten in the last 10 at home. But what I've seen of Newcastle lately, as you said, 4 wins in a row, the last 2 away from home. I don't see Newcastle getting beat. How do you see it?
I would be very surprised if they do. I think they've just, having had a bit of a wobble where they only won sort of 1 in 6, or they've come back strongly. They played very well against United at the weekend, and that was a big win last night. And they're full of confidence, got players back from injury. I think this is a big game for them because they obviously want to make a marker and keep into that top 4. Yeah. I think they should, for me, they deservedly start as favourites.
Yeah, defensively, you have to match the set piece battle with Brentford, and they can. The goalkeeper Pope's having a great season. They're big and strong, this team. I've hummed and hard. In all my exotics, I went Brentford in the draw, but with what I saw last night, Newcastle definitely will be hard to beat. Steve, Fulham, West Ham. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, I think that our season seems to be grinding to a slow halt. Having said that, the way that West Ham played last night and struggled to beat Southampton, I think that if we can show a bit of fight, I think that we can at least hold them. I think it's a West Ham can't afford to lose this, and we're still not mathematically safe. I mean, we're still 12 points clear of the bottom 3. But so I think that I think with everything that's happened this week with the suspensions, I think maybe the players have probably want something to prove. So I can see goals. Yeah. We just seem to be shipping them a little bit, but I think with the way West Ham have been defending, I think we're capable of scoring. So I think it's the sort of game could go either way. I'd like to think that we can win it, but a draw's not the worst result for us. Might not be good enough for West Ham though. Yeah,
I expect West Ham to come out firing. Last night's performance was disgraceful. I expect more long ball, and try and play like the old West Ham, trying to throw it out from the back. I don't know what Moyes is trying to play, but it's a tight game, Steve. I agree there will be goals. I think set pieces will be the key. But let's hope you can get a result. It's with what happened during the week, for me, is terrible. Steve, Leicester, Bournemouth, relegation clash at the bottom.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they talk about 6-pointers, and for both teams, this really is. I mean, Leicester can't afford to slip up here. Yeah. But they've got a toughish run in as well. Bournemouth, the pundits have write Bournemouth off one week to the next, and they've beaten Liverpool and then Fulham in the consecutive home games. Obviously, they came unstuck against Brighton, so they're still back in it. But this is a huge game. I mean, I guess neither team can afford to lose, and it makes you wonder whether they'll cancel themselves out. But Leicester, certainly for them, this is a huge game for them to get out of that bottom 3.
Yeah, Leicester don't get a result here. They are in serious trouble. On to our second page, Tottenham, Brighton. This should be a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tottenham can't afford to slip up here because they're in danger of losing touch with the teams above because Brighton can catch them, and then they find themselves, they could be behind Brighton, United, and Leicester for that third or fourth spot. It's a huge game. The last couple of games, Tottenham obviously have given away leads very late and dropped 4 points they really shouldn't have. Yeah. So, but again, they didn't necessarily deserve to win at Everton. I thought they went 1-0 up, maybe a bit fortuitously, but after that, they seemed to just sort of sit back like they did against Southampton. I think Brighton should go there with a huge amount of confidence. They're playing so well.
Yeah, I think there'll be goals in that too. You know, Spurs, I don't know why they play the three at the back. It always amazes me, especially when you've got players like Kane them up front, because you get outnumbered in midfield. But Brighton, they just keep rolling, and all the stats guys, you can't believe the stats on Brighton, chances, and they think Brighton will win. I think this has got 2-2 written all over it. I know it won't help Paul, but I think this will be a humdinger. Wolves, Chelsea. Steve, how do you see it? I got a strong opinion on this. What do you see?
I fancy Chelsea to. I thought they played a lot better against Liverpool than they had against Villa, and I just have a feeling Wolves are very disappointing last time out at home. They got beaten quite comfortably by Leeds. I think that Chelsea could get a result there. I think with Lampard going there, whether that'll have a factor, but I think there's a lot of Chelsea players who are playing for their place as well.
Yeah.
And they've got the only thing is they've got a huge game coming up midweek against Real Madrid, and they can't afford to take their eye off what's happening in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But I think if they go with the right mindset, I think Chelsea should be favourites to win that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm really impressed what I saw. If they get a little bit of luck in front of goal, they had the 2 goals they scored. Felix Jar's one was a little bit unlucky. One thing about Wolves, they love to control the midfield. Ruben Neves and Martini and those guys, they're really good players. I don't see that happening against Chelsea. And if Chelsea score early, I think this could be a comfortable victory. But I'm all over Chelsea. I was going to make it my best bet of the weekend. But, crikey, with the lack of goals. But I'm all over Chelsea this week. Totally agree with you. And Southampton, Steve, they did beat Man City in the League Cup. Surely they can't cause another upset?
I would find it, the way that City have played recently, although obviously they played a few at home, the way they tore Liverpool apart, I would be amazed if Southampton get within a couple of goals of them. Yeah. City, but again, City cannot afford to slip up. They are, because obviously we'll come to the Liverpool-Arsenal game, but, City win that, puts pressure on Arsenal. Yeah. So I think, for me, City comfortably. By 2 or 3.
Yeah, I totally agree. Next game should be a good game. Leeds United, Crystal Palace. Leeds have come right, especially Ellen Road. And I watched the Crystal Palace Leicester game. Yeah, they had a million shots. They looked a far better organised team under Roy Hodgson. They had to go from the jump, Steve. This could go either way, in my opinion.
Yeah, the one thing obviously Palace are going to miss, Zaha is out for a few weeks. They think 3 to 4 weeks he's out now. Leeds certainly, are showing passion. Evidently, they played very well at Arsenal until Arsenal got the first. For half an hour, they played very well. I think that this is a huge game for them because they can really pull themselves sort of away from that bottom 3 leads. I fancy them. I think that Palace are a funny side, and quite often they're better away. But again, they needed that win because they had no wins in sort of 8 before. Yeah. I think that of the 2, I do fancy Leeds.
Yeah, they've only lost 1 at home, and that was against United. They lost 2-0, so don't see them getting beat. But, Roy Hodgson has that magic touch. And last but not least, the game of the weekend, Liverpool-Arsenal. How do you see it, Steve?
Oh, huge game. I mean, it's Liverpool can't afford to slip up here because otherwise, their chances of catching, getting into the top 4 are fading, and they may already have gone with the way that the teams above them are playing. But I don't think Arsenal could afford to slip up because City win before Arsenal play. They're only 2 points behind. If Arsenal failed to win, it gives City that opportunity that they could beat Arsenal in a few weeks and go above them. So this is Liverpool. I don't think will play anywhere near as badly at home as they did in their last couple of matches away. So I think this is going to be I think Arsenal are going to have to play really well here to get something. I think that Klopp is furious with the way Liverpool have been playing. So I think it's going to be a really good game. Arsenal, I can't see Arsenal going there and get it and winning. I just think Liverpool, Klopp was going to get something out of them, but as I say, if they do slip up and Arsenal win, it really puts Arsenal in that pole position again in the league, and Liverpool's chances of top 4 have gone.
Yeah, what was strange to me is how many changes Klopp made at midweek at Chelsea.
Yeah.
He rested a lot of the big hitters, keeping Salah on the bench till the last 10 minutes. So he's obviously targeted this. And, in front of the Kop and at Anfield, Liverpool are a different beast. 7 wins, 1 draw and a loss, unbelievably, to Leeds in their last 9 home games. I think there's goals in this, Steve. I think this is going to be a humdinger. But, for Man United fans, let's hope Arsenal win. But somehow I think this has got draw written all over it. Steve, on to the championship, which kicks off on Friday. London Derby, Millwall, Luton. Should be a good game.
Yeah, it should be a good game. They played recently at Luton and it was a 2-2 draw. Luton are playing really well. They're showing that Rob Edwards has gone there and they're playing some good football and deservedly and in the top four now. I've got a feeling though that Millwall could hold them. It'll be a big crowd. Yeah. They don't lose many at the Den, at the new Den. I wouldn't be surprised if they cancel each other out, but should be a good game.
Yeah, I remember watching Millwall beat Sheffield United 3-2 at home. Yeah, you say the crowd's in it. Big game for both teams. Rotherham West Brom. West Brom cost me last week. Away from home, Steve, 1 point from their last 5. Great chance to surely get back to that promotion mix at Rotherham.
I would think so. I mean, Rotherham, are very inconsistent. You're not sure. They do play well at home sometimes, but West Brom have just fallen away. At one point, it looked like this great run of theirs was going to take them into the playoffs, but they've fallen away now. So they can't afford to drop many more points. But I think that I would expect with the players they've got available, you would expect them to win this game.
Yeah, Blackburn Norwich 6 versus 7. Steve, this should be a good game.
Yeah, I fancy Blackburn. I think that, at home they're strong. They had a bit of a wobble last week, but at home they're strong. And, Norwich came unstuck, lost at home to Sheffield United in a big game. I fancy Blackburn are the two.
Yeah, I've won the last 4 home league games, so 19-10 does look a good price. I fancy goals in that game. Fancy goals in this game too. Two teams struggling at the bottom. Blackpool, Cardiff City. Steve, how do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, Blackpool, well beaten last week at Preston. Cardiff, I thought had turned the corner a little bit, but they had I guess for them, a very hard home defeat to their rivals, Swansea. I think you're right. I think there will be goals. I mean, Cardiff, have picked up a few points. They can't afford to lose though, because they're still dangerously close to that bottom. Blackpool, for them, they can't afford to lose this either. I think of the two, I think Blackpool will start as favourites. But if Cardiff, I guess, sort of defy the odds and win there, then Blackpool in serious trouble.
Yeah, only one defeat at home in the last 7. That was against Coventry. On to our next page, we've got QPR versus Preston. Steve, I can't believe the odds here. 22-10 Preston. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when you look at QPR's form and losing at Wigan last week, as we say, 1 win in 15 or something. I mean, it's only because there are a few teams below them who haven't played that well, that otherwise QPR would be down in that bottom 3 for me. I can see, Preston going there. Obviously, they've lost Ched Evans by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
He won't be playing again this season. But I think Preston won't lose there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. 22-10. That's my value bet. QPR have lost 8 out of 9. They only beat Watford 4 out of the 5 at home. And the only teams that really have beaten Preston are Middlesbrough and Burnley that have given us a good hiding. And they're far superior. The betting is totally wrong. Reading, Birmingham City. Reading 6-point deduction, Steve. That puts them in the relegation fight.
It's the second time it's happened to them. So, all of a sudden they lost those 6 points. They're now only a point clear of the relegation zone. Yeah. So they're in trouble. And this is a tough game for them. I mean, at home they have been a bit stronger than away, but maybe it will fire them up because there's nothing. I guess they're going to feel like the league are against them. I can't see them losing. Birmingham are a funny side. You're never going to go what you're going to get. Didn't expect them to get anything last week, and they go and win. Yeah. But I think Reading might get. I think Reading could win this. I think they're going to be really smarting after that punishment. And I find it quite harsh that a team gets points deducted this close to the end of the season.
Correct.
It's to me, you do it at the beginning of the season so they know where they stand. But this is quite harsh. So I think they're going to. Paul Ince is going to be. I can just imagine the anger when that came out, even if they were expecting it. So I just fancy Reading to edge that one.
Yeah, the old us against the world. 13-10, both teams to score. That's my play on that. Sheffield United, Wigan. Surely the Blades have got to be too good for Wigan.
Yeah, you would think so. Wigan had obviously won last week, and Sean Maloney has got them playing a bit better. But Sheffield United is a big win at Norwich, and I think they want to consolidate their position as third. So in the top 2, I think they'll win that.
I think they win comfortably. Stoke City, Bristol City. Stoke City, great victory last week. Bristol City been a little bit in and out. Steve, I'm all over Stoke here. How do you see it?
Yeah, definitely. Whatever's happened, Stoke have really started to show some form. But if you look at the league table, they're just a little bit too far adrift.
Yeah.
But, they've had some big... That was a huge win at Coventry last week. I don't think anybody expected that, to win by as comfortably as 4-0. I think they start as clear favourites.
Yeah, I remember watching them beat Blackburn 3-2. They were 3-0 up, cruising until the last 5 minutes. I think Stoke, absolute sitters. Swansea, Coventry, Steve, two teams that have dubbing me over the season. Swansea have won their last two, but Coventry are always dangerous. Which way do you see it going?
Yeah, I think, last week, big win for Swansea at Cardiff, their rivals. Coventry, we didn't see that coming.
No.
A lot of the pundits were just saying, look, they're good things for maybe getting that sixth playoff place, and they came unstuck big time. I think that this will be a good game. Swansea tried to play football. It hasn't served them as well this season, but I still think that they might just edge that game.
All right. Now, is this the upset of the weekend? Watford at home to Neil Warnock's Huddersfield.
Well, very interesting. I mean, the odds, you'd think it's going to be a cakewalk, but for Watford, but Huddersfield, showing some fight. They had a good away win, and that was a huge win to come from behind to beat Middlesbrough, and by the sounds of it, was played superbly in the second half. My brother is very disappointed with the way Watford are playing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There is no question that the odds are. I think if somebody wanted to take a punt, 4-1 on Huddersfield, they've got to be in with a shout.
Yeah. Sunderland, I went for the goals against them and Burnley. They played well against Burnley last Friday, Steve, against a Hull City team that's in and out. I went goals this way, but of the two teams, I like Sunderland. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they haven't had the best of times, Sunderland, in recent weeks. They've had a couple of big defeats, but I think they should be a little bit too strong for Hull. I think their playoff hopes may sort of be beyond them now, Sunderland, but I think they'll have a go, and I think they should edge that. And
the big game, Middlesbrough versus Burnley, 1 versus 3.
Yeah.
Which way are you going?
Well, look, I mean, Middlesbrough had that great run and got themselves, right up there. Bad result for them, to lose at Huddersfield like that. And Burnley just keep on winning. They're only a couple of wins away, if results go for them, of promotion. Yeah. So, I think that Borough have got to throw everything at this, because they can't afford to lose. With Sheffield United winning, all of a sudden that gap starts to become, quite a few points. I can't see Burnley losing. They're playing so well. They just, he's just getting, he's doing what he needs to, and there they are. They're on for, being one of the few teams to get over 100 points to go up. They're definitely on target for that. So, I fancy Burnley to not lose, definitely.
Yeah, I fancy them to win, Steve. The 7-0 hiding against Man City in the Cup, that brought them down to earth. And a little bit cocky against Sunderland. This is a chance, big stage on Friday. We are the main men here. I'll be taking the 17-10 on Friday. Steve, pressure time again. I know you're on the spot with Preston last week. Who you on this week?
I'm going to go for my best bet. I'm going to go for Chelsea. Okay. I just think that I fancy them to, on the back of that performance against Liverpool. I think if they play like that, they'd be too strong for Wolves. And I was thinking about Huddersfield as my value bet. I mean, it's 4-1. Why not? It really is great value. For a team that feel they can get out of it. If they win, they can get themselves out of that bottom three. Yeah.
So you're on Huddersfield, eh? All right. Well, my value bet is Preston, my boys. I just can't believe 22-10. And I'm going for Stoke, Steve. I've liked what I've seen the last couple of weeks against Bristol City. As I say, I think of all the teams other than Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, I've been impressed with what I've seen. I always tape the championship and watch it during the week. But they've looked a nice team. They'll more than likely come and spook me this weekend. But 8-10 Stoke City are in all my bets. Steve, have a great Easter. Thanks very much, and we'll speak over the weekend.
Absolutely.
All the best, Steve. Thank you. That was our UK top man Stevie Braham. On to the PSL for the weekend, and we'll get the betting up. There were 2 games of midweek. Sundowns, who were champions, drew 0-0 with Cape Town City. And Maroon McGallants, after conceding a late equaliser, came back to win 3-1 against Royal AM. Supersport host TS Galaxy. Supersport at home, 7 wins and 2 draws in their last 9. I don't see them losing to TS Galaxy, but TS Galaxy always a thorn in the side of the top sides. I think there'll be goals in that. Supersport and United in the draw for me there. Richards Bay Golden Arrows, game at Umlazi. Both teams to score. I saw 12-10. That will be my suggestion. Richards Bay struggling. They've lost their last 6. Golden Arrows, disappointing draw with Sekakuna last week. I expect goals. Sekakuna against Maritzburg. Maritzburg were woeful until last week, where they beat TS Galaxy away from home. Well organised. I think under 2.5 goals at 5-10 is the right play here. If I had to go for one of the 2 teams, it would be Sekakuna, but the draw at 2-1 definitely looks a player. Lando Pirates, who got the money with them last week at 13-10. I think they'll be too good for Chipper and Port Elizabeth. Pirates have only lost to Sundowns and Chiefs in the last 9, winning the other 7. So 6-10 Pirates for me there. On to the second page, Kaiser Chiefs, Maroon McGallants. I'm hoping that Dylan Kerr's Maroon McGallants can put up a fight. The only problem is Kaiser Chiefs on a roll. 3 of the last 4 opponents have had a player sent off. So I know guys are saying that, like the old days, Chiefs are getting assistance, but I don't think so. I think there'll be goals in this again. Hard to go against Chiefs, but both teams to score at 12-10 is my suggestion. Royal AM versus Stellenbosch. Royal AM at Chatsworth, always hard to beat. 2 wins and 3 draws in their last 5, but Stellenbosch are going well. They won 4 their last 6. Last week we took 16-10, over 2.5 goals. Similar price this week. I think goals galore on Sunday at Chatsworth Stadium. If I had to side with one of the 2 teams, I'm going to go for Stellenbosch, but I'd rather go the safe route and go for the draws. Sundowns elected chair. They are the champions. 0-0 against Cape Town City in midweek. What team are they going to play? That's my only problem. Are they going to rotate? So taking 4-10, if it was before they'd been crowned champions, I'd have been all over it. But I'm going to leave this game alone purely because Swallows are desperate and Sundowns have nothing to play for it. And Cape Town City, after a superb performance in midweek, I think they'll be too good for a struggling Amazulu. 7-10 looks to play in that particular game. On to our weekend soccer exotics, and we kick off with our score 6. And I've thrown the draw in at Old Trafford. Man United win and draw against Everton. I'm banking Aston Villa to beat Notts Forest. Going the field in the Brentford versus Newcastle United game. I'm chancing West Ham United to avoid defeat at Fulham. This could go either way. The Tottenham-Brighton fixture, so I've gone the field there, and I'm going for Chelsea to win at Wolves, 2-1-6. On to the other soccer 6. I'm going the field in the Brentford-Newcastle United game. West Ham United to avoid defeat at Fulham. The field in the Tottenham versus Brighton match. I'm banking Orlando Pirates to win at Chipper United. Sekakuna United to avoid defeat at home against Maritzburg United. And I fancy Chiefs to beat Maroon McGallants 2-1-6. On to our score 10. I'm going Man United win and draw against Everton. Banking Aston Villa to beat Notts Forest. The field in the Brentford versus Newcastle United encounter. West Ham United to avoid defeat at Craven Cottage against Fulham. I'm going Leicester win and draw at home against Bournemouth. On to our second page, the field again in the Tottenham Hotspur versus Brighton game, siding with Chelsea to beat Wolves, Man City to beat Southampton. I think Juventus can avoid defeat in Rome against Lazio, and I think Real Madrid will be too good for Villarreal, 288. On to our soccer 13, I'm banking Man City to beat Southampton, Tottenham win and draw against Brighton, Chelsea to beat Wolves, Aston Villa to beat Notts Forest, chancing Brentford to avoid defeat against Newcastle United, going with West Ham United to avoid defeat at Fulham, Leicester win and draw at home against Bournemouth. Onto the second page, I'm going Juventus win and draw against Lazio, banking Atalanta to beat Bologna, Torino to avoid defeat against Roma, Real Madrid should be too good at home against Villarreal, Espanyol win and draw against Athletic Bilbao, and banking Paris Saint-Germain to be too good for Nice, 256. On to our budgies bets for the weekend. I'm going Chelsea to beat Wolves. Over 2.5 goals and both teams to score yes in the Fulham versus West Ham fixture, and over 2.5 goals both teams to score no in the Southampton Man City game, 3,600, 200. My team goals only sides are Aston Villa, Leicester City, Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal, all to score over 1.5 goals, 2,800 to 200. On to the Championship on Friday, where I'm going Preston North End to beat QPR, Stoke City to beat Bristol City and over 2.5 total goals, and over 2.5 goals in the Sunderland versus Hull City game, 3,600 to 200. My both teams to score sides are Blackburn Norwich City, Blackpool Cardiff City, Reading Birmingham City, and Middlesbrough Burnley, 2,500 to 200. On to Spain, where we're going for a quartet. I'm going Atletico Madrid to beat Rayo Vallecano, Real Betis to beat Cadiz, and both teams to score in the Espanyol Athletic Bilbao and Real Sociedad Getafe games, 3,200 to 200. And our Collis King 6 or Nexa, I'm going Aston Villa to beat Notts Forest, Chelsea to beat Wolves, Man City to beat Southampton, AC Milan to beat Empoli, Atalanta to beat Bologna, and Real Madrid to beat Cadiz, 3,200 to 200. Thank you very much for watching our Easter show of OnSide. Please remember to stay on side.